The air was thick with the smell of diesel and fear. Streetlights flickered, casting long, dancing shadows. Pierre Baganza clutched a briefcase to his chest, his heart pounding against his ribs. He was lost, utterly lost, in a part of Kampala he didn't know existed. This was a far cry from the manicured lawns of his upscale neighborhood. He tried to retrace his steps, but every turn seemed to lead him deeper into the labyrinthine streets. The buildings were dilapidated, their facades scarred with graffiti and neglect. A rat darted across his path, its eyes gleaming in the darkness. The sounds of the city, music, laughter, distant shouts, were amplified here, distorted into a cacophony of chaos. Pierre quickened his pace, his fear morphing into a cold dread. He needed to get out, to find a familiar landmark, anything to escape this oppressive darkness. But the city held him captive, its grip tightening with every passing moment. A group of men huddled around a flickering fire in an oil drum, their eyes following Pierre's every move. They spoke in hushed tones, their words swallowed by the night. He couldn't understand their language, but their stares spoke volumes. Danger lurked in every shadow, every darkened doorway. He thought about calling for help, but his phone was dead. He'd been a fool to venture into this part of town, especially at this hour, but he'd had no choice. Not after the meeting, not after what he'd learned. A chill wind whistled through the narrow alleyways, carrying with it the scent of sewage and decay. Pierre pulled his jacket tighter around him, trying to ward off the cold and the fear that threatened to consume him. He was a stranger in this strange land, a lone sheep in a den of wolves. Pierre Baganza had always lived a charmed life. As the son of a prominent businessman, he'd grown up in a world of luxury and privilege, private schools, exotic vacations, and a trust fund that guaranteed a comfortable future. He'd never wanted for anything. He joined his father's accounting firm straight out of university, eager to prove himself. He'd excelled in his role, quickly rising through the ranks. He was good at his job, meticulous and detail-oriented. It was this dedication that had led him to uncover discrepancies in a client's financial statement. What had initially seemed like an accounting error soon spiraled into something far more sinister: embezzlement, fraud, and a web of deceit that reached the highest levels of power. Pierre had been naive, believing that he could expose the truth without consequences. He'd confronted the client, a powerful politician who'd responded with threats and veiled warnings. Fear had driven Pierre to seek help from his cousin, Robin Mujuni, a man with a reputation for navigating the city's underbelly. A man who could make problems disappear. The meeting was supposed to be quick, discreet. Robin had chosen a secluded bar on the outskirts of the city, a place where shadows held court and whispers carried secrets. The air hung heavy with the smell of stale beer and cigarette smoke, the music a thumping bass line that vibrated through Pierre's bones. Robin was already there, nursing a drink, his face shrouded in darkness. He was older than Pierre, his face etched with the harsh realities of life on the streets. Beside him sat a man Pierre didn't recognize, his eyes cold and calculating. "Pierre, my friend," Robin said, his voice a gravelly murmur. "Meet Tony Sabiti, my associate. He's a lawyer, the best in the business." Tony inclined his head, a thin smile playing on his lips. Pierre had a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach. He'd walked into something he didn't understand, something dangerous. But it was too late to turn back now.